has to do with the pressure the White House is under to do something about the border.
Chinese and other nationals from around the world no longer saying they're coming here for asylum.
Have you done everything you can do with executive authority, or is there more you could do?
Weighing new executive action to address the immigration crisis, that's a huge concern for many Americans.
It is waiving more than 24 federal laws to add on to the border wall in southern Texas.
Tell us about why the Biden administration is now considering this move.
Biden's pledge. President Biden's recent declaration that he would shut down the southern border when illegal crossings surged to overwhelming levels highlights how his many other efforts to address immigration have fallen short of their goals. Biden signed more executive orders related to immigration than any other topic on his first day in office and has taken more than 500 executive actions since then, already surpassing former President Donald Trump's 4-year total. However, one of Biden's most active areas of policy making has become one of his biggest vulnerabilities to re-election. The president's management of the southern border and immigration is his worst-rated issue in polls, and record numbers of illegal crossings have galvanized Republicans, undermined the president's push for Ukraine aid, and played to the perceived strengths of Trump, the GOP frontrunner.
Has to do with the pressure the White House is under to do something about the border.
It also includes the toughest set of reforms to secure the border ever in history. The Border Patrol chief himself said,
"Migration at our southern border." Sources confirmed to CBS News that President Biden is considering using sweeping executive authority.
Several of the Biden administration's signature initiatives intended to make the immigration system fairer and more orderly have stalled out or remained too limited to significantly curb illegal entries and reduce chaos at the border, according to analysts, current and former administration officials. The political pressure on Biden has been growing, with Trump saying the issue won't be fixed until he reclaims the White House and Abbott testing the president and federal law by seizing a public park along the border and denying access to U.S. agents. Frustrated and anxious about legislative negotiations that would deliver aid to Ukraine and Israel in exchange for new border restrictions, Biden stated Friday that he was willing to accept restrictions to the asylum system and other reinforcement measures that were almost unthinkable for Democrats at the beginning of the president's term. Trump and top Republicans have cast doubt in recent days on a potential deal, which includes several measures sought by GOP leaders, with some lawmakers suggesting the changes could help drive down illegal crossings and benefit Biden. Biden said the bipartisan Senate bill would be the toughest and fairest set of reforms to secure the border we've ever had in our country.
Chinese and other nationals from around the world no longer saying they're coming here for asylum.
New migrants. He does not poll well on this issue, and it is an election year. White House officials say
coordination at the border. The White House says it's provided $46 million in funding for migrants to Illinois.
Measures under discussion include an expansion of the government's deportation powers and an ability to expel border crossers, denying them access to the asylum system when daily crossings surpass 5,000. Republicans have also pushed for new limits on the president's ability to use executive parole authority to waive in migrants without visas. The White House declined to answer questions on the record for this article, but spokesman Angelo Fernandez said Biden has been working in good faith and on a bipartisan basis to reach an agreement that establishes meaningful policy reforms and delivers additional resources to law enforcement on our southern border. Administration officials say their broader strategy, expanding opportunities for migrants to arrive legally while applying tougher penalties to those who break the law, needs more time and resources. What Biden has tried. In March 2022, Biden administration representatives unveiled a new strategy that would enable lower-level asylum officers to resolve cases that had traditionally needed a judge's court hearing. More than 500 video conferencing booths were set up at border processing centers for migrants in U.S. custody. The government's heavily overburdened immigration courts may hear an appeal from an applicant if the asylum officers rejected their plea, even though they were authorized to grant refuge. According to data from the Department of Homeland Security, the program's reach was insufficient to make a meaningful impact on the figures. In March, when the program reached its peak, 936 applicants were handled by asylum officers. That same month, federal data indicates that U.S. Customs and Border Protection registered over 163,000 unauthorized entries from Mexico.
Have you done everything you can do with executive authority, or is there more you could do?
Members of a migrant caravan attempted to force their way through the San Isidro port of entry in San Diego.
Bipartisan bill got the Border Patrol agents they need. It funds and hires 1,500 more agents.
In order to free up staff, the administration halted the program in April for a period of 6 months. This was done as Biden was ready to repeal Title 42 border policy, which had been used by U.S. authorities to quickly deport migrants during the pandemic without giving them an opportunity to apply for asylum. Following that, Biden enacted new regulations that penalized asylum seekers for entering the country illegally or for failing to ask for protection in other nations they passed through on their way to the border with the U.S. The Circumvention of Lawful Pathways regulation is a policy that immigration advocates have tried to overturn. It also had no discernible impact on attempted border crossings. Using the most recent available statistics, the MPI analyzed immigration court records and found that only 7% of unlawful border crossers between May and September 2023 were subject to the regulation. Officials from Biden said that while the measures are being implemented more broadly, they are still essential to their efforts to toughen penalties for disobeying the law. The administration has also introduced a program known as Family Expedited Removal Management in an effort to reduce record crossings by family group migrating migrants. For families requesting for U.S. protection, it uses GPS technology embedded in ankle bracelets to enforce curfews and guarantee adherence to court orders on a chosen head of household. Families present a unique set of difficulties for federal officials due to a 20-day legal cap on the length of time youngsters may be detained in immigration facilities. In 2021, Biden administration representatives declared they would stop detaining families in immigration detention. According to Immigration and Customs Enforcement data obtained by The Washington Post, there are now less than 1,000 people enrolled in the FIRM program at a time when between 100 and 120,000 migrants cross illegally each month in family groups.
Weighing new executive action to address the immigration crisis that's a huge concern for many Americans.
Men, women, and children pushing Mexican soldiers out of the way in an attempt to enter the U.S.
We need more people. We need more agents on the line.
Biden officials claim that since May, they have deported or repatriated over 84,000 individual family members, are growing firm, and are not granting families a pass at the border. In order for cases to be resolved in weeks as opposed to months or years, Andrea Flores, a top border policy official in the White House during Biden's first 7 months in office, stated that stricter asylum requirements are insufficient if there are insufficient judges and asylum officers to enforce the new regulations. Flores, who is currently with the immigration advocacy group FWD.US, stated, "There's an assumption that if you just add asylum ineligibility, the numbers will go down, but if you don't have adjudications that will lead to timely removals, you won't impact changes at the border. You give smugglers more opportunities to send people through unauthorized channels with every ineligibility you add." Biden officials cite a glaring indicator of a policy's success: a precipitous decline in unauthorized border crossings by citizens of Cuba, Haiti, and Nicaragua in the previous year, following the administration's approval of applications for legal entry into the country through U.S. sponsors by citizens of those countries as well as Venezuela. The executive parole authority that the program depends on to wave in the migrants are the same presidential authorities that Republicans are attempting to limit in the Senate negotiations. Rolling back Trump. The Biden administration launched a plan to address the root causes of emigration by promoting job creation and stability in Central America, which was mocked by critics. However, illegal crossings by Guatemalans and Hondurans have dropped about 30% since 2021. The problem is that arrivals from dozens of other nations, including countries in Asia, Africa, and Europe, have skyrocketed since then. The number of migrants coming from Venezuela, Colombia, China, India, Senegal, Romania, and elsewhere is at historic levels, with many of the new arrivals making requests for asylum. The U.S. Border Patrol has recorded more than 6 million illegal crossings along the Mexico border since Biden took office, the busiest span in the agency's 100-year history, in addition to nearly 2 million getaways who were detected but not apprehended. Some of the president's immigration advisors have argued enforcement data should not be a gauge of immigration policy success or failure. Mounting political pressure has left Biden's team no less attuned to border crossing numbers than its predecessors.
Tell us about why the Biden administration is now considering this move.
But it sounds like they would put in place some of the key parts of that bipartisan Senate bill.
It is waiving more than 24 federal laws to add on to the border wall in southern Texas.
Senior administration officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal policymaking echoed the sentiment that the president is attempting to solve a problem that involves domestic politics, international relations, legal obstacles, national security, and humanitarian considerations. He is doing so within a fraught political environment. The intricacy of the issue has, in some ways, left Biden more susceptible to simple, easy-to-digest political attacks that expose his vulnerability on the issue of border security. Democrats have lost the narrative on immigration amid negotiations that focus so squarely on border enforcement. Maria Teresa Kumar, founder of the advocacy group Voto Latino, suggested that Biden and his aides should make a case to the public about the need for more comprehensive immigration reform. While noting that the president released a plan for an immigration overhaul on the first day of his presidency, Biden's political allies have acknowledged the difficult bind they now find themselves in as the president tries to mount a re-election bid at a time when the border stands as a clear example of his struggle to enact effective policy. The Republican-controlled House has rejected most of Biden's border proposals and is not a party to the ongoing negotiations with the Senate. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.